We pull no punches. Press the button, subscribe.
Fight fans, welcome. Saturday, the 13th of September is coming thick and fast. World titles galore, two fascinating fights, and I'm pleased to be joined on my channel today by Matt from the Counterpunch boxing blog. Hope you're keeping well, Matt. How are you doing?
I'm good, Darren. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, looking forward to talking about these fights this coming weekend. As you say, it's a massive weekend for boxing, and what to look forward to.
Brilliant weekend, and the way boxing has been as of late, bit hit and miss. I can't really remember a Saturday night like this for a long, long time. So let's hope the hype lives up to it. So the first fight we will look at is live from the Cleaver Twist National Stadium at Windsor Park. A history-making night, the first ever all-Irish world title fight for the vacant IBF welterweight title after Jaron Ennis vacated the title to move up to super welterweight. So Lewis Crocker versus Paddy Donovan 2, the rematch. How excited are you for this one, Matt?
I think the first fight was a really good fight. I mean, it was a pretty one-sided fight, if we're honest. And obviously, what happened at the end sort of took the shine off it for Paddy. So it's great that he's got a rematch. It's great that they were able to make this rematch between, obviously next, right? They haven't had a fight in between. The fact that it's for a world title just makes it even more special. You can argue the merits all day long as to whether it should be for a world title or not, but the fact is it is, and obviously they've been in the fortunate position of a vacation, and they can now put it all on the line and in front of what will be a fantastic crowd over in Belfast. The atmosphere, I'm sure, will be absolutely electric, and really looking forward to a really good domestic card ahead of, as you say, a blockbuster later on that night.
Well, I'm going to first of all pick up on the atmosphere. I mean, when you get Irish boxing, we all know what the crowds are like, and especially when the first one as well, particularly the atmosphere was superb. Putting this in a stadium now as well, 20,000 people, is going to be superb. Well, the first fight, I actually watched it back the other day, and when I watched it back again, I can't quite believe how Donovan controlled the fight from the off, really. What was your opinions of the first one? And very dramatic, of course. What was your opinions? I mean, do you agree with me? Donovan totally controlled it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think we've seen Crocker in the past, take the Conor Walker fight that he had. When Walker was prepared to stand there, engage, stand toe-to-toe, it suited Crocker, and he deservedly won that fight, albeit it was a tough encounter. Donovan, I expected to box a lot more at range, and there's times when he did, but obviously he engaged a lot and he was prepared to fight on the inside, and whether that sort of threw Crocker, I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean, I can't remember. I've not watched it back recently. I can't remember how I had it scored at the time, but I am way ahead on the cards. And yet there were indiscretions throughout the fight, but I think it's fair to say, and we'll get onto it, I'm sure, that they were both a little bit guilty of that. But yeah, I mean, it ended how it did. But yeah, I mean, for me, just Donovan was way clear of him.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, when we say about what we'll come on to about the obviously the dramaticness of the first fight, my opinion is that Donovan was his own worst enemy in that first fight. I mean, he actually come across as a very dirty fighter at times. I mean, there was constant timeouts for the use of the head, the elbow. I think rounds 6 and 8, it was deducted points. And then that DQ at the end, hitting after the bell. What was your overall opinion of it? Was it a case of Donovan was just very, very dirty in the fight? Or was it a case of Crocker walking Donovan into it and setting traps? What's your opinion of that?
I think there's probably a bit of both there. I think there were there was one or two indiscretions in there that I think, I say the deliberate. It's a strong word to use, but I think he probably knew what he was doing. But there were other times where I think the styles meant that the heads were close and things happened that I'm not sure. I think the head clash is more than necessarily the elbow. You can tick him off for, but I think he did what he did. At the end of the day, it was a case of a referee giving somebody a yellow card, and then saying 1, 2, 3, 4, pointing out all the different fouls that have been made. It was almost a cumulative effect in the end. It came back to bite him, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with the last shot of the fight, which obviously caused the disqualification, we heard certain excuses from Paddy Donovan. I didn't hear the bell. Do you believe in that excuse, or do you think he just got carried away? Or
I mean, I've never been in the centre of a ring with an atmosphere to know whether they actually can hear the bell or not. I mean, we heard it on the TV; it was quite clear, so you'd think the fighters would be able to hear it. But I think sometimes you just get carried away, don't you? He'd broken him down all fight. He had him up against the ropes. For me, I think he just threw a late shot. I don't think there was any malice in it. I think he just unloaded. It was probably not even a second late if you watch it back. It wasn't 5 seconds late. So yeah, I think he just got carried away in the moment, Darren. I don't think there was any nastiness or maliciousness about it. But obviously, he was guilty of what he'd done in the rest of the fight, and that was what the referee pulled him up on ultimately.
and also as well, the big factor in that as well was how did the referee hear the final bell if he didn't as well. So yeah, very dramatic first fight. But apart from the disqualification and the points deductions, it was a very, very interesting, good fight. Why we had it. So the second one, hopefully it delivers what we think it will. Paddy Donovan was ahead on your scorecards. He was certainly ahead on all the scorecards at ringside. Quite a commanding lead, even with the 2 points deduction that he had. The DQ ending obviously sets this fight up. Pardon the pun with what I'm going to say now, but I felt a little bit cheated in that first fight to not actually have the clean ending.
Yeah.
Do you feel a little bit the same with that?
Yeah, especially when one fighter was so dominant. I think, because he was so clear in everyone's scorecards, it was almost, we're all sat there probably in awe at how he performed. So for him to lose it in the way that he did, and it's 100% his fault, whether he intentionally did it or not, it's his fault. He did it. I think, we needed a rematch. And I think, Billy Nelson, obviously, other people came on and said there shouldn't be a rematch and Crocker should go ahead and now fight for the world title. But I think it needs a rematch. It was so one-sided that we had to see these two in the ring again.
Yeah, I totally agree. And of course, this is Billy Nelson versus Andy Lee again, and they've already obviously done the first fight, and then they had Bacoli and Joseph Parker, and we know how that one went as well.
Yeah.
Coming back onto this fight, I thought in the first fight, Lewis Crocker looked a little bit one-dimensional for me. I thought he lost to come up with a plan B and lacking ideas in the first fight. I mean, Donovan cut Crocker early in the fight as well. His eye was busted up. I just thought he generally struggled a lot to contain himself in the fight as well. The wild lunges and that, albeit at times he did catch Donovan. But I thought Donovan was by far the better, I was going to say cleaner boxer. He wasn't that, but he was the better boxer.
Yeah.
Would you agree or disagree with that at all?
No, I think he was the better boxer. I think he was, as I say, I think he got ahead early, didn't he? He got the cut, and I think probably to some degree that sapped the not some of the enthusiasm, but it probably dented his confidence a little bit. And then he tried chasing it, and Donovan's just a cleverer boxer, so he was racking up the rounds. I think he'll be delighted in the way it ended. Delighted that he's now got another chance for him to put it right. And obviously the fact that the world title's on the line will only make the everything at stake and the intensity will be even higher than it was in the first one.
Absolutely, as you mentioned, that world title on the line makes it even juicier, this fight. So, how do you see this rematch playing out? Do you think it'd be an exciting fight, and who do you think wins?
I think it will be an exciting fight. I think, for me, Donovan should win. I think the only thing that possibly will impact him is if he's thinking too much about, not leaving the head in there, not leading with the elbow, overthinking and almost overcompensating for what happened in the first fight. If he lets that get into his mind, or if he gets a warning early on, maybe, for a low blow or something like that, that could impact him mentally. I think if all of that is clear and it's just two guys standing there trading, for me, Donovan is the better boxer, and we see a repeat of the first fight and possibly a stoppage this time round.
Yeah, I think I don't see how it can be a dull fight after the first one. I just think the styles won't allow a dull fight, even though, we had the head and that in the first one. I still think it'll be a very good fight, this. And I do believe Donovan will make up for silly errors in the first fight. I do think he will be more aware of being reckless this time and not allow himself to fall into them traps again. I think Donovan is the better boxer, the more skillful fighter. I think that Crocker does swing wildly at times when he goes to the trenches. I think that's a bit of a fault of his. He leaves himself open. So I think Paddy Donovan will win the fight, and I actually think he will get a late stoppage again. I think it could be a case of he busts Lewis Crocker up again and stops him late, but it won't be after the bell this time, and I do think we will get a clean late stoppage. But it's a fascinating fight, a brilliant one we're both looking forward to, and that is the first fight of the two-parter we're going to talk about. So bring on Saturday from Windsor Park. The next one is the small matter of Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Bud Crawford, live from I think it's the Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. The super fight of the year for Canelo's undisputed super middleweight titles. Matt, it simply don't really come much bigger than this, does it?
It doesn't, no. And I've made the mistake of watching a Netflix documentary over the last couple of days, and it's whetted my appetite even more. And it's probably made me change my mind about 5 times as who I think I like as well. And I think that's a good thing about this. We'll get onto the sort of the details of it, but actually, it's pretty split down the middle, isn't it? You listen to people speaking, and there's as many people saying Crawford as there is saying Canelo at the minute from what I'm seeing, and that just means it's going to be a brilliant fight. And let's hope the Netflix stream holds up.
Yeah, I know.
But assuming that all goes to plan, then the eyes of the world and the boxing world and beyond the boxing world, casual fans, because Canelo brings casual fans more than Crawford does. Everyone's going to be sitting down at whatever time it is and watching this one.
Well, when they've got the dross fights on Netflix, the stream seems to hold up well when we don't want them to. But when the good fights run, it doesn't hold up. But I suppose that's hopefully, like I say, more people are watching it. But yeah, it's a very much a fight we're all looking forward to. And when you've got the likes of Canelo versus Crawford, do you feel like this fight has been sort of like a long time coming, even though Crawford is stepping up? Do you feel like it's been on the cards for a long, long time now?
It's been talked about for a while, hasn't it? But I didn't actually think we'd ever get to this point.
Yeah.
Just because it is to step up for Crawford, to jump up those 2 weight divisions. And also, it's a risk for Canelo. We look at some of his previous fights, and it's not to say he's taken easy fights by any stretch of the imagination, but he's possibly avoided a few people over the last couple of years. So for him to put, Canelo is known to the casual fan. He brings eyes to the sport.
He does, yeah. That's true, yeah.
Crawford less so. There's not many people tuning in to watch Crawford and Madrimov that aren't hardcore boxing fans.
Yeah.
Spence probably there are, because there was more narrative around it. So I think he's risking quite a bit in this fight, and it's great that he's prepared to do that. There's less risk for Crawford because obviously a lot of people are backing him to win, but generally people would expect the heavier man, the more natural super middleweight, to get it done. But look, I think it's fantastic to see. It's been talked about for a while. I didn't think we'd get here, but as soon as it was announced, however many months ago now, it was just, look, let's get it here. Let's get September on. There was a bit of a false start with who was going to promote it, where it was going to be, etc. But now just can't wait for Saturday night.
Yeah, that's spot on, exactly the same as me. Well, we've got Terence Crawford, undefeated and already been undisputed at super lightweight and welterweight. The last time out, he beat Madrimov, as you mentioned, at super welter. He now jumps up 2 weight classes to challenge Canelo. It's a fight we're all very much looking forward to. I'm not asking for a prediction as such yet, but Crawford is looking in superb shape. It's not just a case of bulking up. He's looking absolutely ripped and in the shape of his life. But do you think, without giving me a prediction, this step up 2 weight divisions could be a step too far for Terence Crawford?
It could be, yeah. But at the same time, he's probably catching Canelo at the right time. If he was fighting Canelo 5 years ago, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But I think Canelo is slowing. He's not knocked anybody out or stopped anybody since Caleb Plant. And I think
Yeah,
that was 2021.
that's true. Yeah,
We're going back a while, and he's fought quite a few people since then. So it's not the Canelo of old, but still jumping up. And it's he has had one fight at super welter, so he's jumping up really from welterweight, isn't he? Effectively.
yeah.
So it's 20 odd pounds he's had to put on to get to this weight level. But as you say, he looks brilliant. He looks good, and we won't know until he's in the ring as to how he carries that extra weight. But he looks really good. He looks hungry. He's had more time out the ring, so that could work for him or against him. But all eyes have been on this fight, and I think weight could be an issue. But at the same time, we've seen people jump up weights before and cause an upset, or at least give a good account of themselves. And he'll naturally walk around at a bigger weight than he used to fight at. So also it could help him in that regard. So yeah, it's fascinating, really, Darren.
Well, Canelo obviously has done it himself as well. We know where he began. Well, Canelo obviously 2 times undisputed super middleweight champion, who started out as a welterweight, very much established now. Do you think this is the toughest assignment he's had in Terence Crawford?
Of all time?
Yeah. Was that a tough question?
It's a tough question because the Golovkin fight was, let's put the Mayweather fight to one
at the
side.
end, though, as well, wasn't he, Golovkin? So
yeah, but I think when he fought Golovkin the first couple of times, let's be honest, he should have more defeats on his record than he does, because he certainly, that first fight was a bit controversial.
Yeah.
So I guess we won't know until the two get together where it's the toughest fight he's got. But on paper, at this point in his career, and given how old he is, and given the miles that he's got on the clock, it's a very, very tough encounter for him. At super middleweight, certainly. He's had it a little bit easier over the last couple of years, so I think this is a real challenge for him.
I probably should have narrowed that down and said super mid rather than lot, because
certainly over the last few years, definitely, because you can throw some names out there, but he's put them all away, or he's beat them all quite convincingly. So I think somebody like Crawford, who's got the boxing IQ and the switching ability that he does, I'm not sure Canelo's been in with somebody that possesses all those skills.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when you look at Canelo's losses, he's lost to Dimitri Bivol, Floyd Mayweather, as you mentioned. How would you compare the two careers of Canelo and Crawford? Would you say Canelo has fought the better opposition?
On paper, yeah, I think you have to say he has. And I think it's back to that point we talked about previously, that Canelo is more of a household name. He's been in there, that run he had where he beat Callum Smith and Billy Joe Saunders and Caleb Plant. He has been in there with the best in the division at that point in time. Now, more recently, yeah, of course he hasn't. There's been names that could have fought that he hasn't. But I think Crawford. There's just names on Crawford's CV that aren't as familiar to people outside of the sort of the hardcore boxing fans.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He beat a lot of good people. He destroyed Errol Spence. And he beat Madrimov, who's a good boxer.
Yeah.
So I think he's got a very good CV. He's just, this is his moment for him, isn't it? I've heard it called his breakout moment, which seems a little bit ridiculous given his age and how long he's been around, 40-odd professional fights. But it is, because this is the first, you could argue, big star outside of Errol Spence that he's been in with. And even Spence, to casual fans, is not a big name. So yeah, definitely.
Well, I've got the punch stats, the KO stats in front of me as regards punch power. Canelo's knockout ratio is 61.9, Crawford 75.6. So Crawford does have the better KO ratio. Less fights though, whereas Canelo's had 41.
Yeah.
Crawford's had 41, Canelo's had 67, remarkably. Crazy to think, really, 67 fights. But I have seen some pundits say that Canelo is the biggest puncher that Crawford will have faced. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, simply because he's never probably been punched by a super middleweight before.
Well, yeah.
So I think while we've seen Canelo's punching power fade of late, fighting a natural, let's call him super welterweight, because that's where he's fought last time out. I think it will be the toughest he's faced, and it'll be interesting to see when they land in the first couple of rounds, if they do land, how he takes them.
But covering all angles as well, what about the other way? Would you say, I mean, obviously he's been in the ring with Golovkin, but we don't know too much about Crawford's power at super mid, whether he'll be hindered by the weight gain or anything like that. But would you say this Crawford is going to be one of Canelo's hardest hitters he's fought, if the weight gain goes well for Terence Crawford?
Yeah, whether it'll be hardest he's been hit, or it'll be a bit like the Bivol one where he's such a clever fighter, Crawford. He can switch really well between southpaw and orthodox. That
Yeah.
he can just work the angles, and maybe the sort of the volume of punches that could land will be more of an issue than necessarily the outright power. And obviously Canelo's never been on the canvas before, has he? So I think to think that Crawford can do that, I think would be a stretch. But I certainly can see him landing a volume of punches that maybe Canelo hasn't seen of late.
It's going to be so interesting to see, as you say, especially in them early rounds, to see whether Crawford can try and land a big one early, put a dent in Canelo. Such a fascinating fight. And as you mentioned earlier as well, 2021 was the last time Canelo won via a stoppage against Caleb Plant. It's just been all points wins since then, so it will be very interesting. I think it's 65,000 fans will be in attendance in the stadium. It should be electric, especially for us viewers watching at home to see on Netflix, which will be part of your Netflix subscription. So we've talked about the records, the weight gains, and belts that have been won. How do you see this fight playing out, Matt? What do you think will happen?
I'll probably change my mind again before Saturday. But as we sit here today, I think Canelo will win on points. I don't see either man stopping the other. I think Crawford will cause Canelo more issues than he's had in your recent fight, certainly, putting Bivol to one side. They're in Vegas. I mean, talk about that all day long, but Canelo does pretty well in Vegas, and I think he will just his experience of that weight, his ability to sort of his nous to get through the rounds. I think it'll be a close fight, but I think he'll edge a point decision.
So, do you think it'll be a technical affair then?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't see both men going gung ho. I think it will be a very technical affair. I think Canelo will walk forward because that's what Canelo does. He obviously last time out against Skull, he became very frustrated. Somebody wasn't hitting back. He's not going to have that issue this time. Crawford's not going to, you wouldn't think, open himself up, but at the same time, he is going to be, getting a good volume of punches out. So yeah, I think it will be a very technical fight. I don't expect to see a knockdown, if I'm being honest, by either fighter. But I think it'll be a lot of very close rounds. That I think Canelo just edges in the end.
Well, the reason why I asked you about a technical affair, obviously we spoke about there is a lot of punch power in the ring, albeit about what we said about Canelo since 2021. But I'm going to go the other way. I think Terence Crawford will win this fight. I think it'd be very, very close, as you've said. I think there'll be a lot of close rounds. Over the last couple of weeks, especially, I've been watching a lot of, two superb boxers. I just feel that Crawford has the technical edge over Canelo.
Yeah.
The interesting factor is going to be the step up to weight divisions, but I think Crawford will adapt well. And I just think that he will slightly outbox Canelo, but I'm expecting a very, very close fight. You made a good point about Canelo and in Vegas as well. I never really thought of that too much, but maybe that would give Canelo the edge with how well he does there. But I just think that Crawford is technically slightly better than Canelo, and I think, at Canelo's, 68 fights in. I watched him last time against, was it William Skull? Was it last time out, his fight?
Yeah.
Sometimes he's a bit prone now of, would you agree, coasting through fights rather than putting his foot on the gas?
Yeah, I mean, even if you look at the Munguia and the Belanga fights, Munguia had him down in around 3-ish, I think.
Yeah. Still didn't put him away.
No, and then it's sort of, as you say, not that he lost interest, but he just sort of puffed away, didn't he, for the last sort of few rounds. Belanga, who got destroyed the other week by Shiraz. Again, it was a clear win, but it wasn't overly convincing. And then Skull, in fairness to him, Skull just wanted to tuck up for the full distance.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's what. Sorry, that's what I was just going to pick up on as well with that school fight. You say about he just wanted to go the distance, but I do feel like Terence Crawford is the fighter that can have a bit of a plan B. Whereas
Yeah.
if you have a fighter like that against him, I feel like he's still. I mean, the Madrimov fight was points, but I just feel like he manages to get over the line. Right, if someone's I feel like if someone's being defensive against him, he still manages to put on a good performance. Where I think Canelo falls short of that. I mean, the social media comments after that school fight was just the fight was dreadful.
Yeah.
Whereas Crawford, I feel like puts on a bit more of a show, but it's going to be a fascinating fight. It's going to be very, very tight, but I just fancy Crawford to have the skill to just nick it against Canelo.
And Crawford's a great finisher as well. If he does smell blood in there, we're talking about whether he can stop him or not. It might be a stretch, but if he does get in the opportunity where he feels he's hurt him, we've seen it with a lot of his fights, in particular that Spence one. He'll not stop, and it'll be relentless pressure at that point, and that'll be interesting if Canelo finds himself in deep waters.
Well, I feel like as well with Canelo, if this was 2022 now and Canelo's last knockout was last year, I might feel a little bit different. I feel like he built a reputation on that power, and that's sort of like diminished, hasn't it, over the last few years, where he doesn't look like he's sort of got the power like he used to have. So I think that's one there. I just think Canelo won't stop Crawford. Whereas, like I say, I think it was 2022. I'll be thinking, he could stop Crawford here, but I just don't see it. And I think, I'm just going to nick it towards Terence Crawford. But it's a fascinating one. And as you said earlier, I think I saw the article the other day of the experts' predictions. And like you say, it's like 50-50 split all the way down, isn't it? It's that type of fight.
Yeah. And I think for all I've gone for Canelo, if Crawford proves in the first couple of rounds that the weight's not really an issue, and to some degree, the weight will be more of an issue, I guess, in the later rounds when he's not used to carrying that level. But then, it's wide open, isn't it? And I think, as you say, that's why everyone's so intrigued by this. It's not a case of, Canelo's going to beat him because he's the natural super middleweight. It's every factor that goes into it, the number of fights that they've had, the activity, the weight class, the knockout power. It's got all the ingredients to be a classic. Let's just hope it delivers on the night.
I was just going to say that. Let's hope it delivers. I mean, we talk these fights up sometimes. They don't always deliver. Let's hope it does. And you'll be watching from New York, is it, you said?
Yeah, I need to find a bar in New York somewhere that'll be showing it. So I think, obviously, New York, I think, is a couple of hours ahead of Las Vegas. So I imagine they'll ring walk in Las Vegas around 9 o'clock-ish. Yeah. It tends to be 9:30, the big fights ring walk in Vegas. So, hopefully around 11:30 in New York.
Well, it's better than our 4 a.m. anyway that I'll be up.
True. That is true, yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks. This has been a brilliant preview with you, Matt. Brilliant expertise as usual. You know your boxing, and make sure anyone watching, if you sign up to your website where you can subscribe to your boxing blogs at the Counter Punch. If you just go on Google, type in the Counter Punch, it comes up. So if everyone gives your articles a subscribe because they are brilliant. Is there anything else you want to say on that, Matt?
No, just there's been a lot of activity recently, a lot of local fighters up here in the northeast that have done very well over the last couple of weeks. Mr. Williamson at the weekend, and
Crocker.
Ben Marks. We had Josh Babb win a title last night from Darlington. So anybody wants to subscribe, try and get as much content out as possible. So
they're always in depth and fantastic reads as well. So everyone, if you want to give Matt a subscribe to that. And anyone watching as well, if you give my channel a like, subscribe, if you agree with our comments, if you don't agree with them, that's perfectly fine. We're all open for a bit of backlash on here. It's no problem. Once again, Matt, thanks for your time, and enjoy New York and enjoy the fights as well.
Will do. Thanks, Aaron. You too.
Cheers, mate. Thank you. Cheers.